and she's like letting him know that like you aren't second best. But at the same time, like it's really difficult to tell someone they're not second best when they literally were the second choice. And it comes out at that breakfast that Ollie had told the boys that it was him that kind of allowed it with Kat. And Maria's like, no. Then he goes over to Kat and Freddie. I've actually put on here, they've got this post-coitus glow. The thing is, yeah, like, we've all seen people that we know are lying. You know, when you ask someone a question and you know already, I've already done the Inspector Morse background to know, or my evidence is already lined up, and then it kicks off with Jasmine and Ollie. She literally is like, who the F are you? And I literally put, go on, girl. What going on, people, thems? So, I did a thing last week where I did a slightly different reaction. I guess it was more of a review than a reaction because I wasn't filming my reaction. I actually did a review of the latest season of Love is Blind, episodes 1 to 4. And interestingly, they did drop some new episodes yesterday, and I thought it would just be another 4 episodes, but actually it's 5 episodes. And I nearly just did 4. I'm a little bit anal and stuff like that. I like things to be like even. So I'm just like, I'm gonna do 4 episodes and then 5 episodes. That don't feel right. But then I was like, well, I can't have a whole episode out that I've not seen yet. So I've just watched them all. And just like last week, I have some thoughts. But this time I actually wrote some stuff down because I was conscious that like there were so many things from episode 5 right through to episode 9. Like there's a lot. There is a lot. What I will say is I feel that some of my thoughts that I had, like, still going in episode 5. By episode 9, some of those things have kind of altered and shifted. But let's get into it. So you got Nicole and Benaya. Yeah, so obviously Nicole's trying to, because in episode 5, that's where Nicole finally gets to sit down with Benaya and be like, right, are you gonna be able to forgive me, basically, because I made a mistake? And she's like letting him know that like you aren't second best. But at the same time, like, it's really difficult to tell someone they're not second best when they literally were the second choice. It's really, really difficult to kind of believe that. But, you know, there's lots of like smiling, there's lots of holding hands. And I did think she came across quite genuine, like she owned the fact that basically I effed up. Do you know what I mean? I effed up. And he made it known, which I didn't realise until much later, but he made it known that, you know, it did really hit him quite hard. And then I love the line that Benai was like, it tells me it's something real because I was so heartbroken. And, you know, I've lost you once, I'm not going to lose you again. And that's when he's like, I'm going to need you to stand up. So I thought that was a whole, you know, when you think about how many terrible people that are in the dating pool, and you can kind of like dash someone to the side and they can still be like ready to show up and want to propose to you. That's amazing, man. Like, Benaya is a good guy, and I knew that from the get-go. And like, even the whole proposal like was so much more like genuine and happy. And, you know, some might say maybe, well, you know, we had the lens of, you know, looking at Sam as this villain potentially, but there was just something really wholesome about Benaya and Nicole in that moment, and just how, like, you know, authentically happy they looked. So I thought that was really, really cool. To be honest, I actually thought, well, I've written here that all couples look very, very happy. So you got Steven and Sabrina. You know, he's coming out in his Speedos and stuff, and they're being all playful. Like, she's loving that. And it's not everybody that can really pull off the buddy smugglers either. So I think he's doing a good job with that. And I don't think I mentioned it before, but it is really cool that he's a brummie. I love my roots. So it's just really cool to hear like a local lad. Tom and Maria. Yeah, they're talking about basically how interested they are to see how things work with Ollie and Demi. They're all talking about meeting up because there's going to be like this big party. And Tom and Maria are talking in the morning about basically how it's going to be really cool to see Ollie and Demi. And it comes out at that breakfast that Ollie had told the boys that, like I said in my last one, that it was him that kind of allowed it with Catherine. And Maria's like, no, that didn't happen that way at all. So they're very much already on on that to like, well, what's going to happen. Then it goes over to Kat and Freddie. I've actually put on here, they've got this post-coitus glow. That's what it looks like. Look very, very happy. Now, Kat mentions Ollie again and how, like, she's quite nervous to see Ollie. Yeah, they get into a whole conversation and Freddie's like, well, look, I don't think it's important. I don't think he's important. I don't think he needs to be important. And obviously, I know that you had a connection with him. But if you feel like that you need to... Because she's like, obviously, it's got back to her now that she now knows that he's told people that basically that he allowed her, and she's like, that did not wash whatsoever. So she's like, I need to confront him. And Freddie's like, I don't think you need to. And I rate him because even though he didn't really want to do it, he still was like, look, if that's what you need to do, I'm gonna back you. And I think that's really important. Like in any kind of relationship, you kind of want to feel that your partner's got your back, and there might be some things that, may not be rational. I mean, as long as you're not being some crazy person, but like there might be some things that may affect you more than maybe someone else, and you want your partner to be able to at least support you with it. Like obviously, talk to you and correct you in, and try and steer you into a logical path if so. But there's going to be some things that you just want to have that support with. So I think that was really good for Freddie to back her like that. Ollie and Demi. So he's like, yeah, like how much basically he really loves spending time with her. They're still not on the whole "are we gonna bang a lang" thing. Like he's not, but they're both not on that. I've written here, they're both excited for that, and obviously Demi is like, I've got high expectations because everything else has been so good. I've got high expectations that the Wookie Wookie is going to be good as well. But I have written here that Ollie seems to be slowing it down. That's the vibe that I got more so, that he was like, we just don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we focus on that. And again, that kind of raises some flags a little bit. You're like, well, everyone else is. But, you can't follow everybody else, so fair enough. He then mentions Catherine because they're talking about, like, who you're excited to see later. And I think Demi's like, who else is there? And he's like, oh, Catherine. And Demi's like, oh, yeah. Her. She's very much aware how different her and Kat are as well. So I think she's already starting to get into her own head about it, which I think is totally understandable. I think if if any one of us like was dating someone and there was another person that not even like, they're on a night out or whatever, but there's someone else that has had a really good connection with the person that you're dating. And this is a step further. Like these guys are looking to get married. You're going to feel a bit of a way knowing that person's going to be there. So I think that's kind of fair enough, really. But them actually getting to the venue where they're going to have this kind of meet up and stuff, Bobby and Jasmine get there first. And again, really cute moment. Then they're joined by Steve and Sabrina. Then Ollie and Demi. Then Maria and Tom. And they're all really excited to kind of see each other because obviously the girls have seen the girls, the guys have seen the guys, but they've not really been able to kind of see the other people that they were talking to who they might have actually dated in the pods. So they're just like, yeah, it's really cool to put faces to names. This whole joke that Ollie makes to Stephen being like, he's basically batting. Or he's punching, sorry. So I thought it was quite cool, a little bit of bants and stuff, which is quite nice. Then Kat and Freddie enter. And there's just this whole kind of weird change. So, you've got Kat and Freddie walking in like some next, FC UK models and whatever. Like, Freddie's shirt's all open, looking all sculpted and that. And Ollie looks really like sheepish. Again, could just be some really good editing. But, it looks really sheepish. Like really, really sheepish. I've actually put here, Freddie and Kat looked very good. They looked very good. When they then walk in, Ollie then starts talking about the fact that, in any other circumstance, we could have been here with different people. Do you know what I mean? It's that whole butterfly effect thing. And again, like at that point, bearing in mind that like the last episode that we saw was this whole thing about people wanting to go home or whatever, I was like, why is he saying that? Is that because he's now seen Kat and he's now starting to think about, and maybe that is okay. Maybe as, regular people, it's absolutely fine to kind of be doubting, was could there have been a better connection with someone else now I've seen them? Because it's natural curiosity, isn't it? Like, not necessarily that you're going to do anything about it, but you know, he's right. But one other move here or there, we could have been with someone else. Freddie is still being quite supportive of Kat though, and being like, you know, if you need to go and talk to him, like, it's absolutely fine. Then they finally chat. Ollie and Kat like sit down and have a conversation, and Kat wants to make sure that other people don't think she's lying, basically. Because she's like, you know, I respect you, I've stayed respecting you, but obviously it's got back to me that, you know, you were telling the boys that you know, that you decided to walk away from this, and obviously that never happened. And the thing is, yeah, like, we've all seen people that we know are lying. You know, when you ask someone a question and you know already, I've already done the Inspector Morse background to know, or my evidence is already lined up. Do you know what I mean? I've seen all the evidence I need to see, so I know already that I know the truth. I know the truth. So when people come at you with that face, and he's like, ooh, I don't think that's what I said. I'm just like, you are so lie, right? You're so lie. You could tell. You could tell. I've actually put here, Ollie straight up lies, typical lie face. Is that, well, you know, obviously, if I accidentally mistold what happened, then I'm really sorry. If you accidentally mistold what happened, think about it. You've walked from the pods, like, and you've walked in after you've ended this thing that you have had with this girl, or rather she's ended it with you. How could you accidentally like mistold that? And you told the story twice. I'm sure he was speaking to Bobby and maybe one of the other guys, but I definitely remember him like recounting the story twice and being like, that's not what happened. So yeah, interesting. Demi's being cool. So they're having this conversation. Demi's being cool about it, and while she's talking to Jasmine, I mean, she's trying to be cool, but Jasmine can kind of see what the conversation's looking like and stuff. Yeah, then there's, after they've kind of put that to bed, there's loads of kikiing. This is what I put here. Now, for me, I get it, because you did have a connection and it's your first opportunity to kind of look the other person in the eye and see them. But I just think, you know, we don't know how long that whole, you know, conversation was. It could have been literally a couple of minutes. It could have been longer than that. But as I said, I've put here, then the kiki. So I'm like, I don't know whether I would feel comfortable. If I was Demi, I would have felt a bit of a way, being like, you know, I already know you've got a connection or had with this person. I could really do with a little less of the kiki personally. But you know, that in that conversation, they're talking about how they're just really happy for each other. I'm happy that you're happy. You know, that there's a bit of, I've put here flirting, capital letters, __, because I'm like, there is definitely some flirty banter going on here. You know, about the beard and who, you know, you're definitely a good looking guy and you're a good looking girl, And I'm like, again, like one-to-one from person to person that's got no obligation to anyone else, fair enough. Because ultimately, it could have gone a different way and I could have been sat here with you. So I kind of get having a conversation, but again, just having no, it clearly was like flirting to me. That's what it looked like. And I was like, I think that's out of order, personally speaking. Yes, and I put Demi's already in her mind, so she's clearly going through it. She's like, you know, I'm trying not to be a crazy bee, basically, but at the same time, like, you've got feelings and emotions and that, so I get it. Now, when she asks Ollie about what happened, he doesn't mention. Well, I put he doesn't mention the flirting, but I suppose he's not gonna be like, oh yeah, babe, I sat down there and told her how like gorgeous she was. She told me how gorgeous I was, and you know, we flirted. We flirted. You know, you're never gonna do that. But I also feel like, again, as a viewer anyway, I'm like, you haven't really told the full picture of what that conversation was like there. So what he then told Demi was that what she said was, you know, treat Demi well. She's happy with Freddie. And I'm like, yeah, there were elements of that. There definitely were, but there were definitely elements of there was something there as well. I think because Demi was like in her own mind about stuff. I think everyone could pick up on an energy, like, you know, when you've had an argument with a partner, or maybe just things are a little bit weird, and then you've got to do like a social function, and sometimes that can be really weird. Like, it can be the best thing ever, like, so it can be like a really good distraction, so you're then not having to, you know, even think about what it was that made you be in a mood. Then there are other times where it's just the worst thing ever, because these things are not resolved, and it's forcing you to be in a situation with these people where you're having to like, oh yeah, yeah, everything's fine, yeah, yeah, and it's not fine. It's not fine at all. So I kind of feel like Demi was in that mode. Well, her and Ollie were in that mode of it being a bit weird, and then Jasmine had to be like, go and get your man, go and get your man. So then she went to go and do that. It did feel a little bit weird. It did feel they were talking for a little bit, then it just looked a little bit like arbitrary and awkward. And the fact that people are noticing the eye contact. So I was like, and again, I don't know if this is just editing, but I was like, there's a lot of eye contact here between Kat and Ollie. You know, him looking at her looking at him, lots of eye contact. And I just felt really bad for Demi. Cause I'm like, this feels really crap. It feels really crap. After obviously Demi's grabbed Ollie, Ollie's then gone, Bobby, can I have a conversation? Can I have a chat with you? So he's like, I'm back in a minute. So he goes to have a chat with Bobby, and they're basically talking about like the whole like energy with Kat, and you know there's this thing, and every time I look over, she's looking at me, and there's eyes and da da da, and Bobby's like, bro, I've noticed that as well. And he's like, look, if you've noticed it as well, then it's obviously not just me. And you know, and they're kind of like talking about it, and Bobby's kind of, he kind of okays it in the sense. He's like, look, at the end of the day, you got to see what is what. You know, what will be. Da da da. And you know, at the time, I remember thinking like, how is he kind of okaying that? Like that's not okay. But then I suppose again, if you bring it right back down to like garden basics, like you've come on this show to find something for you, and if you don't explore something or at least contemplate something, how do you know what it is that you have is the right path? Because the whole point of this, it was to date certain people, da 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 da. So on the one hand, because everything is so early as well, I can kind of understand why Bobby's like, look, he's my boy. You know, I want to kind of support him and not have him implode on himself if he's got no one to talk to about this stuff. So like I've thought about it since then. However, even if that has some kind of like cogent like logic to it, at the end of the day, you proposed to Demi. So you know you can't now be like, oh, now I've seen this person, what will be. Like, nah, you've made a commitment. You chose to make that commitment, and Demi was sad. Demi looked really sad. And I was like, that's really hurtful to watch someone feel so insecure, bearing in mind that like she's with this person and they were having a great time up until that day. Like it just felt, yeah, a bit crap. And then out of nowhere, out of absolutely nowhere, Nicole and Benaya come through, just been like, hey guys, you miss us? It was such an awesome moment, and everyone was so like stoked to see them. You know, seeing Sabrina run up to Nicole, be like, my girl, and all the guys being like, Benaya's back, and da 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 da, because they'd all been saying as well that they really thought Nicole had made a mistake by picking Sam. So then to kind of see them walk through on the beach, all hand in hand and coupled up and stuff, it was a real nice moment, man. And they're all talking about how it all went down, and you know they're all excited for them and stuff. It was really cool. And what I thought was really nice as well is just how, like, if you watch a lot of these shows like your Love Islands or whatever, whenever they have like a black female in one of these shows, it almost feels as though that like the guys that are interested in them is all very token. It's almost like, you know, we've needed to kind of like assuage some of our black fans and stuff, because we've had like season after season where, you know, where they've got to pick certain, you know, the bits where they've got to pick certain people, and like it's just the black girl stood on the end like on her own, like because no one's picked her. And I'm always saying to my mum, like, I've got so many friends and so many people I know that love black girls, and vice versa. And I'm like, well, where are they? Like, how are you picking all these people that only want to go for these blondes and brunettes and the blue eyes and the... So it was really nice to actually see someone that was just so beside with Nicole. And I just really appreciate seeing that. Cause I know they're out there. Like, I mean, of course they are, but I feel as though that on these TV shows, it's almost like, I don't know, like just very tokenized almost. Like so, it was just nice to kind of see how besotted he was, and like how he's like, I think I'm punching. Yeah, and then there was a moment where they're all talking separately about like all the physical stuff, and I've just put here, oh Demi, because they're all talking about how how the good is good, and like she just ain't saying nothing. Like she's almost mute. And I think in those moments, like you can kind of see when someone is kind of like disengaged, like and she's clearly happy for other people, but it's really kind of like putting a spotlight on her own situation, which I think was difficult. And I feel like she was saying, behind closed doors were good, the kisses, the cuddles, whatever, but like outside she's like, I kind of need a bit more of that. And I'm the same. Like I feel like I'm not gonna come down here and just like slap one on you and like kiss at you. Like I'm not gonna do that. My days of doing that are very are very far behind me. Again, listen, you do you. If that's you and you want to lay a smacker on someone in the middle of the street or whatever, like do what you're doing. But I kind of feel like that's not necessary. There's a time and a place. Do you know what I mean? There's a time and a place, and like you know, it's not to say that you can't do those things out, because of course you can. But if we're in the middle of a meal, like say it's just we're double dating and you're just necking on like with each other, like it's not just like a little passionate kiss or whatever, but there's tongue and spittle and all, mate. Like I don't want to be seeing that before my food, like from nobody. So I kind of understand why people don't do the whole PDA thing. However, I do think little things like your arms around people and like just caressing someone's bottom as you're walking back, like all the little things, like those kind of things I think are quite important, because you don't do those things with your friends and you don't do those things with strangers. So doing that with your partner, I think it's cool. Like and I think when those things aren't there, that kind of closeness and tactileness, I think that can be like it can tell. It can be a real telltale for people. Again, not everyone's like that. I do get that, but I can understand where she's coming from. Yeah, Kat feels that there's tension. So her and Demi and Kat go and have a conversation, and she's like, I feel that there's tension here, with Demi, and she's like, I care more about you than I do about Ollie. So I've just been really laying it on that treat her well. I really care about Demi, and I'm like, it's all well and good you saying that, but like in that conversation, it wasn't just that. There was definitely like some flirty levels. And then what I thought was really cool after that is that when Kat then got to talk to Freddie, Freddie's really honest. He's like, look, obviously I'm gonna feel away. Do you know what I mean? Like because you're talking to someone who you told me you had a connection with. He's like, but I feel secure. I feel secure in what we have, and she reassures him as well. So I thought that was really good. I've actually underlined that. Then there's a whole cute thing with Nicole and Benaya, and having this whole conversation about consensual spooning, and who's gonna sleep on what side. They're absolutely buzzing. Like it's so playful and nice to see. And I think those are the moments that you look for when you look at any new couple. It's just how easy is it to kind of be around each other, because it isn't easy, even if there isn't like a romantic thing involved. Like sometimes there are some people who it's just really difficult to talk to them, and I'm a talker, so if there's a gap or there's a space and it's awkward, I will fill it with something because I'm just like I can't be sat in silence with someone I don't know. This is awkward as hell. But like sometimes that can really be like pulling teeth. Which then the older I'm getting, the more I'm like, can I actually be bothered? And then I won't put myself in situations like that. But when you're in this situation, it's like, oh, like what do you do? But I guess the good thing for them is they've been in the pods where they had a wall between them and they've been able just to chat. So I think that's really good. Then at the end of the episode, like Jasmine and Bobby are talking, and Jasmine, they've got the whole mud mask thing on and whatever, but they're talking about how Jasmine really felt as though that Ollie should have really like pulled Demi and had a conversation with her first before he ever spoke to Bobby. And she's like, if that had been you and you had done that, like I'm telling you, I would not be happy. And it's just interesting because the same confidence that Bobby was giving Ollie about like, yeah, it is what it is, whatever. There was none of that with Jasmine. Not a piece of that. Not a piece of that. Because he already knows that she's a firecracker. And she's already telling him, don't even try coming with none of that with me. Right? So that was really interesting. And then she's like, I feel I maybe need to have like a little word with him. And, on the one hand, I'm like sick because I feel like that's what friends do that. Friends have got their friends back, and particularly if they feel that, you know, it could help just having like an objective, well, I say objective, it's always going to be biased in it, but a third party perspective. However, what I also did put here is she's got to be very, very careful to not come across as inner. You know, when someone's like, just inner your business. And it's like, well, who sent you? Who sent you? Maury. Oprah. Right? Do you know what I mean? No one asked for your opinion. Thanks. But at the same time, it's also how you then respond to that, isn't it? Because I know if that was me and someone would come to me to say, oh, Luke, I'm not quite sure that maybe in that situation you thought about blah, blah, blah. Depending on how they approached me, where they approached me, would absolutely dictate how my response... Well, my response would always be polite because that's the kind of person I am. Whether or not inside I'm seething, but I'd always be like, oh, okay. Oh, thanks. So it'd be interesting to kind of as I get their perspective. But if they approached me well, I was like, look, I know it's not really my business really, but I really care about Demi, and actually I care about you as well. And I just, is it all right? Can I be honest with you? I think as soon as someone says, can you be honest with them? You're like, yeah, that's you giving them license to be like honest and stuff. So I was like, yeah, really cool. You want to do that, but hopefully, you know where your borders are. And then it cuts to Demi, who then tries to talk to Ollie and being like, because he's like, why have you been quiet? Or have you been quiet? And she's like, I guess it's been a bit, and she's like, maybe we should talk about it. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm tired. And then I've put here that when the conversation's flowing, he lies about the flirting. He reassures her. He only has eyes for her, and Ollie's put it to bed. Doesn't want to fuel the fire. And therefore, for him, it's done. It's done and dusted. I don't really want to have this conversation again, which I think is kind of fair enough, really. To be honest, so I think in that episode, I was a bit like, this feels really like whack, and it feels really, really crappy. But in saying that, at least she was able to have a conversation with him and kind of see where it goes. So that was episode 5. So episode 6. So episode 6. So it starts off with little cute thing. You've got Sabrina working out with Steven. You've got Freddie working out with Kat. And Nicole and Benaya look all kinds of comfy. I've literally put in capital letters beaming. I don't know if you can see that. Probably can't see that. My handwriting is pretty illegible, to be fair. But I've literally underscored beaming. They look really happy. Demi and Ollie look a bit tense. So I've put there that when it started off with them, they looked a bit tense. But then Ollie pretty much straight away reassures her feelings and gives her permission. He's not going anywhere. So he's like, look, if you do feel crap, if you do feel low, if you do feel insecure, if you do feel all those things are absolutely fine to feel because you're human. And those are human emotions. And I'm letting you know now that I'm not going anywhere regardless of how you feel. So, and I think that was a really, considering that I felt he was acting quite shady in the last episode, intentionally or not, I think it was really good that he reassured her them. And actually they both make a joke about it. Because she's like, you do make me feel good, and da-da-da-da. And he's like, well, next time you feel good and we're out, how about you tell your face? So I thought that was quite cool. Then, Kat and Freddie are talking about, living together and talking about, some of their annoyances. So apparently Kat sniffs. Apparently he keeps the toilet seat up. And Ollie did the same thing as well. Bobby and Jasmine, again, very cute, swimming, she's all nervous and I can't do this, but she jumps in anyway and Bobby's there to catch her. That was really good and encouraging to see. Tom and Maria, again, very cute, really good rapport. And again, they talk about Ollie and Demi and how, again, you could really feel the tension. Everyone's really good, but I'm just not really sure about Ollie and Demi. Nicole and Benaya go to a vineyard, a really gorgeous little date thing, and they have a really good mature chat about the physical side of things. And they both agree to take it slow. So Nicole says that I didn't get physical with anyone until my 20s, because giving my body is a really important thing to me, really sacred thing. And Benaya agrees, they're both on the same page, they've got this emotional connection, that's the most important thing, and the rest of it will come. They're very much attracted to each other, which is also good, but they're happy to be patient. It's a very key point, which I'll come back to. So then Sabrina and Stephen go horseback riding. They're horseback riding on the beach. Stephen's like, this is the best day ever. Yeah, so they're really looking forward to kind of like meeting each other's friends and family. They think that they'll fit in with each other's lives and stuff. And they're really kind of ready to see what the real world's gonna offer to them, and you know, that real life, what that looks like. Lots of smooching I put here. I've actually done like a little kissy smoochy face as well. Now, what's interesting, because I'm still trying to work out what the actual time frame is between the pods, between how long they're kind of living together. From what I can understand, it goes from being like, oh, you've only known me for a few days, from what Kat and Freddie were talking about when they were in the house, and saying that, oh, you've only known me for a few days. But then I've heard the others talking about, like, you know, being in the pod for like 3 weeks. And that goes back to what I was saying before about, I don't know how long they've actually spent together in order to kind of fall in love so hard. Because a few days to me is it's crazy. To say I'm in love with you after a few days, like what? But I think 3 weeks without your phone, without any kind of outside influence, and just your connections with these people, I can see that a bit more. Still a bit far fetched, but clearly it's happening because they're all saying it. Yeah, so Kat and Freddie talking about the real world. It's only been a few days. That's where I got that from. She doesn't think that she is good enough for him. She does trust him, but it might take her longer. And he's like, I do trust you. She's asking him about, like, you've got any crazy exes and stuff, and he's like, no. But she's like, yeah, it's going to take me longer to trust you because of the fact that, you know, of what I've been through before. She asks him, have you ever cheated? And he does tell her that he did. Which I think hit her quite hard. And she's like, you know, I've always thought, you know, want to cheat, always a cheat. And but she does say, look, I respect the fact you've been a man, you've been honest, you've been upfront, and I rate you. She's like, but that obviously just isn't. It's just not the answer that I would have wanted to hear. And he's like, you know, it was a long time ago. I'm not proud of it. It's something I really regret. And in that moment, I was like, look, I've been cheated on, and I'm telling you now, it is horrific. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have as well. And it does make you very distrustful of other people. And it's not even just the act itself, which is just abhorrent. Like, for you to go and share yourself with someone else, regardless whether it's a kiss with all that mouthness or whether it's like everything else, like, that's not all right. That's like physically, like, that is not okay. Like at all. Like, not on board with that whatsoever. But it's not even just the act itself. It's then the psychological thing that afterwards, like, because then it wounds you and it affects how you then see. Because I'm quite a trusting person, right? And I imagine for Kat and anyone else who has been in that situation, that they were probably quite trusting. You know, I don't need to worry about who you're with or where you're going or who you're talking to or if you're on your phone, or because you're a trusting person. But those things, those experiences, then shape you into being like, well, actually, I can't afford to be that naive now because I've done that once and it burnt me. So it's the scar that it leaves afterwards and how it can affect and change the way that you perceive the world and perceive other people. So I think that's the thing. And obviously her being cheated on, and then hearing that from someone that she thinks is really dreamy, it's gonna play on your mind, you know. But actions speak louder than words. Maria and Tom, very comfortable. Nicole and Benaya, again, very tactile, lots of hands and stroking and stuff. Yeah, Kat and Freddie being quite distant since the cheating chat I've put here. But then in comes Emma. I've actually put here, I love Emma. I actually do love Emma. I think she's amazing. Nicole and Benaya, like, really cute. Really, really cute. Stephen, because I think Emma's talking about, you know, how's everything going, how's everything been, and like, yeah, Nicole and Benaya are just speaking really highly of each other and how happy they are to, you know, from where it was, where it is now, is great. Emma's talking about, you know, the physical side of things, and Stephen's like, yeah, we did. Everyone's like laughing and stuff. And then start talking about the next phase is obviously moving in with each other. Sorry, when I said that it's been a few days, that's them on the honeymoon. Sorry, so it's been a few days with them on the honeymoon. So I guess a few days of them being like face to face with each other. So the next phase is living with each other, getting your phones back, you know, meeting friends and family. And again, Benaya is smitten. Again, I put here, Benaya is smitten. I put an underscore. Ollie and Ben are talking about PDA and the other peoples and stuff. The other couples. And Ollie's like, don't need to put on a show for anyone else. And I think that's a really key point. It is nice to have those kind of tactile moments, but you're just doing that for you and your other half. You're not doing that to convince other people that you're genuine. Although he does mention he feels a little bit isolated from the group. I thought that was quite interesting because in all of these different things, everybody wants to get on with people, right? And I don't know whether or not because of how Demi was feeling that they thought that he was making her feel that way, and because of the lie that he told about Catherine, that it's already painted him out in a bit of a negative light. So I think a few of those things have probably met, and if Catherine's there and she's chilling with the rest of the people, it might be that they're just opting to spend more time with her. I don't know. Yeah, Kat and Demi have a conversation, and again, we missed the old Demi. Like, where is she? And Demi's like, I'm happy. She's like, well, show us that you're happy. I then put commend the honesty from Freddie, because again, I think he's talking to like other people. I think he's talking to Stephen, and he's like, look, this happened 7 years ago. Like, I could have lied. I could have been like, nah, never cheated. He's like, but I don't want to be that person that lies about anything. Like, I want to be an honest, loyal person and let her know that this doesn't define me. And I think, again, it's difficult because having been on the receiving end of cheating, I'm like, you just don't need to do it though. You just don't, really. Do you know what I mean? It's a choice you make in that moment, and you're choosing to be selfish. So, like, I get it, and I get it doesn't define you. And again, it does depend on context is important, isn't it? It wasn't yesterday. Like, how many times have you done this? I think those things are really key to understanding, actually, do I want to be in this situation with you or not? And then it kicks off with Jasmine and Ollie. So Ollie and Bobby are sitting down chatting, having a conversation. Jasmine comes up, she's like, oh, squeezy, squeezy, can you scooch? Can you scooch? So she sits down and they're talking, and then so she's like, can I be honest with you? And then it all kicks off from there. And she's like, basically, I feel like, you could have pulled Demi for that conversation before you pulled Bobby. She's like, at the end of the day, like, how are you feeling? Are you feeling it? Are you feeling it? And he's like, what do you mean? Of course I'm feeling it. Like, what do you mean? What kind of question is that? Of course I'm feeling it. And she's like, but I don't have anything else to say to that, really. And I just want to talk to Demi because I don't know what it is that she said, or she's like, she's not saying anything. We're the ones picking up on this kind of stuff. And then Jasmine again is being quite forensic. And again, a little bit too push up for my liking, in my opinion. She's like, look, are you feeling it or not? Like, do you like the girl or not? She's like, she needs reassurance. And he's like, look, I give her reassurance. Like, why are you coming at me? He's like, I'm not coming at you. She's like, why are you raising your voice? Bearing in mind that, like, she's speaking quite forcefully. And then he's like, look, I just don't have, like, this is not going anywhere. Like, you keep asking me the same question. I keep giving you the same answer. And this is what I was saying earlier about, like, it's a very fine line between I want to be a friend and give a little bit of advice to I'm going to just keep rabbiting on, like, and it's like, mate, like, read the room, like, we're in public, it's quite clear that I no longer want to have this conversation with you, and you keep pressing, and if anything, you're putting more pressure on me that I just don't require. Demi kind of comes over and is kind of hit with the fact that it's like, oh my god, what's going on here? Because she's like, I'm not pressuring you. Like, Jasmine's like, I'm not pressuring you. I don't know why you're feeling pressure. And he's like, I'm telling you, this is pressure. So when Demi walks over, Bobby and Jasmine are like, okay, we're going to go. And Demi's like, it's all good. What's wrong? And he's like, I've just had her coming for me. And, I don't really get it as to why. I feel attacked. And I'm fed up with people, like, making me out to be a villain. Ends up saying, I want to go home. And I should never have come here. Which I was like, that's a big bar to say that. It's a big bar to say that. I want to go home. I should never have come here. Like, that, when you think about, the kind of things that your partner says and stuff, and the kind of things that stick in your mind, like, that's the kind of thing that I don't think I'd forget. and I want to go home. I should never have come here. That's what you said. After us being fine and you getting grilled, okay, fair enough by my friend. But for you to be like, I don't want to be here, I should never have come. Like that, yeah, that would have really weighed on my mind. And then he pushes her off and says, I'm done. I'm done with this. And storms off. And everyone sees, everyone's like, oh, Ollie stormed off. And I think that's the other thing in it. When you argue in public, yeah, it's that, and trust me, I've been there. I'm not the kind of person that likes arguing in public like that, like at all. I think those are kind of things like, look, we can deal with this when we get home, yeah? Like, it's just, it's maybe it's just a very British thing, I don't know, but keeping up appearances, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not looking to be like Cat Slater in EastEnders where it's like, you ate my mum? Yes, I ate. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing no EastEnders cutscenes here. And then when those things happen and other people see it, it's so shameful. Like, so, you know, that whole thing of him pushing her off, I was like, nah, I like that would, I get it, and I get like needing to, you know, have a conversation, but like, let's do this in a way that, you know, you can just depart, you know, we could be demure about it. We haven't got to make a scene. So yeah, that happened. Then it cuts to them waking up, and yeah, they have a chat, and it seems to be that he's like, look, I feel like the process right now is being more of a hindrance than it's being an assist to us. And I've put here, have come to a halt in paradise. Because like, I feel that we've just come to a halt here. And I was like, how can it feel like you've come to a halt and you're in literal paradise? Like, there are no distractions here. There are no kind of prior concerns that you've got to think about that would impact your relationship aside from just being in the sun. Like being with other couples that are going through the same experiment, eating good food, waking up with each other. Like, you're not having to deal with like the commute, like crappy weather, like, you know, bills, like, you know, real life stuff that's going on with your friends and your family, you know, work straight. Like, it's just, I don't know. I just thought that was really weird. Like, come to a halt, but you're literally in literal paradise. Yeah. Then it cuts to Freddie getting pretty emotional, talking to Kat about how he feels about her and stuff. Like, he's actually crying. And I think that was a big moment because Kat then just reassured. Cause I think she was still being a bit like, you know, I'm still thinking about the whole cheating thing. And he's like, you know, I don't want you to think differently of me. You can tell it just really cut him deep, man. I've just got a lot of respect for Freddie. I just think he, like I said before, I feel like he's into this more than she's into it. He hasn't been out kind of chatting with anyone else that he had any connections with, whereas she has. Again, I don't rate the cheating, but 7 years ago, could have lied about it, didn't. Like, those are green flags to me. You know, people will F up, do you know what I mean? But it's how they kind of learn from that so as not to repeat the same said behaviour. Do you know what I mean? I think she just wasn't really seeing that until he started crying. Then there's a shot to London, and like the apartments look lush. I think they look really cool. Jasmine makes a good hint about like her phone news when talking to Bobby, and I'm like, yo, she's a lot, man. Like, she's already kind of laying down the law almost about like how much use do you use your phone with. So I'm interested. Benaya gives Nicole a ring, so I'm like, that's pretty sick. Yeah, Kat and Freddie are like, oh, this is gonna make or break us, basically. Ollie and Demi close to calling it quits, but they're not quitters. And Benaya and Nicole are like, yeah, we've got a complete physical connection, and we're committed to exploring a physical exploration. So that was a really nice way to say, like, look, we know there's an attraction there, and we're committed to exploring more with each other. So I'm like, that's really, really cool. Tom and Maria have a little bit of a conflict, I say a little bit, about like jobs and profession and stuff, because she's a makeup artist and he's like, actually maybe I did kind of judge you based on you being a makeup artist and stuff. And she's just like that's really judgmental. Like, why would it matter what I do? Like, what matters is who I am as a person. Like, what I do doesn't define like how intelligent I am. And she's even just like, end of the day, like, who are you? She's just like, if you are going to be that kind of person that judges that, then what are we even doing here? She literally is like, who the F are you? And I literally put, go on, girl. So I'm like, this is so true. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand that professions and income can be important in terms of like planning out a life together, but you can never ever judge like the intelligence of someone based on what job they do. Like, you know, you don't know what books they're reading, you know what podcasts they're listening to, what courses they're taking, what lessons from the school of life they've had. It's got to be the reaction he was expecting, because how can you judge someone and be like, oh yeah, like I don't know what it is that you do is dictating to me how intelligent I think you may be potentially. Well, that's how it came across, and Tom hasn't really come across like that before. But I did think that was quite interesting, so I didn't like that, and I rate the fact that she called him out, and it was like that's just not the one. Like, and I wouldn't want to be with. I'm like, would you want to be with someone like that? That's like, I'm going to judge your intelligence or who you might be based on the job that you do, because you're a labourer or you're a doctor or you like whatever. Like, you know, I know it's natural for us to kind of put things in boxes, so I do get that. And again, on the one hand, kind of rate him for being honest about it, but yeah, I can totally understand why she was wrapped up about that. But yeah, I think all in all, I think, you know, this so far, like the people that I like, Demi, like I've got a big soft spot for Demi. Ollie is kind of redeeming himself in terms of what he's saying. Because some of the things he's saying, I'm like, do you know what? That is actually quite emotionally aware that you're saying what you're saying there, but you're not allowing her the room to feel insecure, and you know, the fact he's not going anywhere and reassuring her. But then there have been other things. I'm like, bro, that ain't one man. Like, so I'm not feeling Cat. I'm not feeling Cat. Like, I don't know, because I feel like Freddie's in it more than she is. And I feel like seeing that interaction with her and Ollie, like how many times she spoke about Ollie, then Holly put eye contact with Ollie, and then, you know, not being as honest about that conversation, really, with either Demi or Freddie. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. So the jury's out on her. But then, you know, she did reassure him when she saw that he was crying. So, you know, Steven and Sabrina, I think, are just completely unproblematic. Like, I'm right in their journey. I think it's sick. Jasmine, I did really. I'm not saying I don't like her, but like I feel my eyebrow is raised a bit more at her now, because I'm like, you're a bit in it. You're a bit much. You're a bit much. Bobby seems to love it though, so he seems like he's absolutely smitten, and that's great, because that's the most important thing. It's them two. They're in it. But I couldn't have someone coming at me like that in front of people. Like, after I've already told you to be like, all right, and you're still going in. Anyway, but I know it comes from no, I can imagine it comes from a good place. Oh, and Nicole and Benaya. Again, I'm really happy that they've got this second chance, and I really hope that Nicole is genuine with it. Do you know what I mean? I think she seems genuine, like she seems to really own that apology. So, and Benaya just seems smitten. So I'm happy for them. I'm really happy for them. So yeah, man. I've actually already reacted to or really got my notes for episodes 7, 8, and 9. So I'll get those uploaded to my Patreon ASAP. So if you do want to watch the full reactions with me, then head on over there. Otherwise, you're gonna have to wait until I can get it onto YouTube. But yeah, man. I'd love to know what you guys thought, and you know, who are you liking at the moment? Who's not really floating your boat? Who you think so far is looking like they're going to actually go the distance and get married? And just what are some of your thoughts about like the cheating? Should he have mentioned it? Should he not? You know, is it cool that Ollie's kind of flirting a little bit with Kat, or do you not think he is? Just, yeah, I'd love to know what people's thoughts are. But for now, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.